was wrong, even want wasn't anything. Yeah, I could say that you didn't need any part of me. Yeah, maybe it's not me, you should be the one on your knees. So if we had another chance, I would never let you steal my
I do appreciate your opinion, but I think that I kind of want to hear someone else's opinion for a little bit. We have one new face on this broadcast. It is
Big on three, all right? 1, 2, 3, big!
Hello, welcome into Upsurge. We're here for the summer playoffs. I'm Mad Magical, joined in by Invert. Should be very exciting for the games that we have today. 100 Thieves next, taking on ANEW Esports in the winners finals.
Yeah, I mean, I asked you to be creative with my intro. What the heck happened,
I
man?
told you, you cut me off the last minute. I'm like, all right, how do you want me to introduce you? You're like, oh, be creative. I'm like, I have like no time to think about this. I was trying to think of something. I was thinking maybe I could go with like a Baron Steal or a Baron Throw for Dignitas. And like, no, that's not going to
No,
work here
not
because we're not
quite.
talking about that right now. So it's like, all right, I'm just going to go generic for now, but I'll think about this all this first game. So that way I can go back.
It's okay. You don't have to be creative with it because we got a couple creative teams on the Rift for ourselves today for this series. So I'm looking forward to it. I like both of these teams, both these rosters, keeping an eye on the amateur circuit. You see these guys pop up and yeah, they're making a name for themselves this split. So I'm really looking forward to watching this series.
Same here. I like this, especially these two teams. You have 100 Thieves next, the next generation, as some people are calling it. Obviously, you got the next in there, but these are a bunch of rookie players really just starting to make a name for themselves. Tenacity, Kenvi, Copy, Eon. They're really being able to pop off and show how great they are on the Rift, but they're taking on a lot of veteran players, players that have been around in the academy, some that have been able to make it into the LCS, such as Mike Young on ANEW. But these are players that really want to be able to have that second chance, prove themselves, get back into the scouting grounds, back to academy, maybe even back to LCS.
Yeah, and for some of these players, they've already kind of proven themselves. I look at Five Fire as someone who did that grind already, got to scouting grounds, showed himself as a very capable academy mid laner, and he's just here just to do it again, to show everyone again, and prove those scouts wrong.
It's like it's more of a formality for him because we know he has that talent within him. We've seen it. We saw it.
I actually personally got to work with him in scouting grounds. I know exactly what his strengths were, what his weaknesses were. Last year coming to scouting grounds, he had to kind of find his voice and his understanding of the game because he leaned on his teammates to have a sense of understanding of like how to play his waves and what to do in the side lane and things like that. So hopefully we have Five Fire with that greater voice on this ANEW team to be able to show that growth and show that he has an understanding that he doesn't have to rely on his teammates for that.
Exactly. And that's what I want to see. I want to see that out of everyone pretty much on ANEW to be able to prove themselves again. Like I said, the second chance. They want to be the Phoenixes rising up, but they got to take on this new roster, these new rookie players on 100 Thieves next. Even though Otto, he has been a part of the academy before. He was on Counter Logic Gaming Academy for quite some time. Even going back, I think he was on CLG Black back before Academy was really a thing. He would like to be able to prove himself too. Poom was able to get promoted right to LCS and has been doing fantastic there. So for Otto, he also, I believe before, was ADC. So swapping over to the supportive role, we've been seeing that kind of a lot from a lot of former marksman players, switching over to support to be more of a shot caller.
Yeah, and mid laners too, right? I believe Julian has done the same thing. My whole goal in watching 100 Thieves next today is, their wins and their losses, they're just as quick as one another. These guys play a very specific style. I want to see if they're just going to play that style and just, eke out the wins, go super fast-paced, playing topside with Kenvi and Tenacity, or if they're going to switch it up a bit, if they think that now is, they're a little comfortable in the scouting ground circuit against their opponents, if they want to switch up and diversify the styles that they can show off. I think
that'll be interesting because someone who's been a bit underrated when you just talk about how 100 Thieves next has been Copy in mid lane because he hasn't been a part of many of the fights, but he's been doing a great job when it comes to damage share, where it comes to being able to outlane and out CS his opponent mid laners and be able to be consistent rock for 100 Thieves next that a lot of people kind of skip over.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for myself as well, but if you look at the stats, totally true, right? And I think they have the element and ability to be creative beyond just the picks that they're playing, but also the style. So, Otto is a proficient brand player. Am I going to see branded to Tom Kench, which is, a traditional counter? That'd be pretty interesting, But let's just see where the draft takes us, because that's kind of the first thing I'm looking at with these teams is, are we going to see these teams stick to their style or kind of branch out a bit?
Exactly. Hearing that we are getting into the draft for game 1 between 100 Thieves next and ANEW Esports. Be interesting to see what is really pick banned, because you look over to Kenvi on the side of 100 Thieves next, and that Kindred is something that has been remarkable to me. Seeing that still played so proficiently and excellently out of this rookie player, it reminds me a lot of when Blabber was first starting to make his mark in the academy scene.
Yeah, and it's just challenging the other team, right? There are a lot of picks that you can play into Kindred. But it's just a matter of, do you have the cojones to play that Nidalee and to match me in jungle pressure and outrange me? Or, are you just going to play Olaf or something that I'm totally fine playing against? That kind of pick can, help you a lot. It's your comfort, but it can also hurt you if you lean too much into it and don't have the right options against it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. You have to be able to get those right options and how you're going to be able to play that and what you're going to be able to perform on. And then switching over to the other side, Mike Young has been a player that has been able to kind of change his styles. He did have the meme quite some time ago, the high tempo gameplay from the jungle, but he's a player that plays different styles. He doesn't just have to play more of the carry junglers. He can play whatever fits his team really well. And I want to see how Kenvy's able to adapt to someone who's so adaptable, who can evolve given the circumstances in front of him.
Yeah, especially so Kenby just blinded support or jungle rather here. So we're seeing the Trundle, we're seeing the Ezreal. So, you know, the start of a pretty clear front to back comp. And then Thresh with Ezreal, not quite the lane that we normally
right. It's
like
usually like
to see with
Ezreal
the-
Bard or Ezreal Yumi kind of style.
Yeah, you know, there's not too much synergy involved with these two champs. I really like the Rakan pick, you know, punishing the lack of lane pressure from the Ezreal Thresh side, still giving you that opportunity to go in with the Kai'Sa. And, you know, the one thing I don't like about it is they show their set flex a bit too early. So now the 100 Thieves Next knows that it's a top jungle set, so that they're able to play well into it. Traditionally, we don't normally see set into Trundle as a jungle matchup, but we'll see if that's what Mike Young wants to do.
Yeah, but we are getting into the second part of bans. Zoe, of course, taken away from Copy, one of his most played mid laners right now in the scouting ground circuit. But we're seeing Galio to be an answer towards the other side, towards Five Fire, since he does like to play more of the control mage style. Try to see.
And it's a bunch of dive, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. What I'm really looking for from ANEW is a lot of kiting champs that can still go in. So stuff like the Syndra and Orianna with the phase rush, I think could be very effective, because they have a lot of champs right now that don't really care about the Trundle. LeBlanc, banned by 100 Thieves Next, another one of those great options where, it's a champ that doesn't really care about that Trundle pressure at all, and can just go into side lane later and be perfectly fine. So.
But the bans that I'm kind of looking at right now, Syndra, not really touched by either side. Orianna has been the second most played by Copy for 100 Thieves Next.
With Rakan and Set too, it's looking like a pretty decent Orianna game. But, ANEW wants to break the Set flex. They're showing very clearly this is Set jungle. I don't know how much I like it, especially given that Orianna was up. Not the greatest pick into Ezreal, but I think for when you're trying to create a team composition, you don't necessarily want to look at what's the best possible pick at any given point if it doesn't work with your draft at all.
Agreed.
So,
I'm kind of on the same page as you. I probably would have preferred like an Orianna pick there and wait for the Kennen, because now you just get countered by Jay's top lane. Gotta have a really difficult time for Rodov going up against Tenacity, who has been a player well renowned for getting a lot of pressure and help from Kenby, but also being able to 1v1 his opponents pretty well.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? Like now they're getting counterpicked on top, and now you're really seeing this front to back comp come into place for 100 Thieves. There's the poke, more poke for Corki, Jace, Ezreal, front line of Trundle Thresh. In isolation, I do appreciate like what 100 Thieves Next has brought to the table against Dive. It's going to be on ANEW to execute now that they have the Kennen, Rakan, Set, Kai'Sa, all these champs. They're going forward, right? So, Kindred. Okay, there's the Orianna.
There we go. We both kind of were like, huh?
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Orianna locked in. That's what we both expected before the Kennen. Same exact thing, and it works well with Kennen too, because Kennen is going to be going all in. You're going to have Set, Rakan following that up. Try to make sure you can lock them all down, keep them within the slicing Maelstrom with the Shockwave. But looking at the differences in the compositions between ANEW and 100 Thieves Next, you see 100 Thieves Next, they have a lot more of the poke you mentioned, but it's also really good split push. You can set up a 1-3-1 so much easier than ANEW are going to be able to. Plus, you're really going to be able to disengage well. You're going to be able to kick them back and say, we really don't want to fight front to back. We're just going to try to win through side lanes.
Yeah, one of the things that you really want to focus on with ANEW, they have so many go buttons, but the important thing is that they have to ditch their side lanes to come collapse on mid and to make something happen. If they're not going to do that, they're not going to win the game. The other thing is they cannot be the first team to not have the setup. So if 100 Thieves Next is at Dragon first, they cannot walk in. It's going to be very difficult without flanks available for them to walk into Jace, Trundle, Thresh Q, Ezreal Q, Corki package and potentially, and Corki rockets. So if ANEW wants to fight these objectives, they have to be there first. So that's something to look out for as well.
See, I was going to ask you, being a coach, how the strategy you'd want to see for ANEW would be, and you answered that beautifully. But I want to see what you think for 100 Thieves next. They've got to have that in mind. They got to know that that's what ANEW wants to do. So what do they do to make sure that never happens?
Yeah, the base timers are going to be super key here, right? If we have perfect timing on packages, that's going to help a lot with taking control of the river. And as well as that, just constant jungle and support grouping, helping a lane push out, bring that lane to the objective. It's going to be super important. So the enemy has to catch while they're bringing that lane over. So those are the things I'm looking forward to the most, is to see how well the team does that, or if we're just going to have a fucking good old scrap, just teams fighting it out. And then in which case the dive comp can look really, really good in those more chaotic circumstances.
And this is always where it's really interesting to see. You have the experience from ANEW, where they probably have a lot more of the veteran players that have seen these different strategies, kind of know how 100 Thieves Next want to play now. But how are a bunch of rookies with one leader from Auto going to be able to adapt to this? Are they going to be able to step up to the plate, read that situation, or are they going to play right into ANEW's hands here in game 1 of the winners finals? This could mean a lot right now. Both teams have been doing amazingly in the playoffs. It is ANEW who have been the only undefeated team, though. You look over to 100 Thieves Next, they actually lost a game to Mirage back into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, the one thing I really like about the stats that I saw from ANEW, I think I mentioned this before, was that when they, 100 Thieves Next, when they win fast. When they lose fast, right? But for ANEW, when they win, it's about the same speed, and they know how to snowball at this level pretty well. But for ANEW, when they lose, the game is stalled out actually a significant amount of time, like a few extra minutes. I think it's 27 minutes when they win, 32 when they lose. So this team does know how to stall out games, how to trade objectives properly, trade kills properly, so that the other team doesn't have that ability to snowball as quickly. So if we see that, that's something that I think, even if, in losing circumstances, something that you can take away as a positive.
I always think that's a positive, personally. When I see a team that knows how to delay the game a little bit more, especially when they're behind, that shows that not only do they have the fight is still in them to be able to play around, try to find some win conditions and mistakes of their opponents, but it means that they are also learning those weaknesses for further games, for future games. It's a best of 3 here in the winners final. So even if they lose this game, they still have 2 more potential games that they're able to rally back in, having learned from their mistakes. And since the game is longer, they know more of the weaknesses of their opponent.
Yeah, 100%. And, you can take that into, let's say you lose winners finals. It's called winners finals for a reason, right? There's still the grand finals. Take those lessons, be able to apply them, and also, steal a little bit of that technology. If you saw something that a team really indexed on in this patch, take that, adapt to it, understand the weaknesses and strengths of it, and then, come back out swinging for the grand final. So
that's at least what you'd hope for, because you want to be able to assume that you're going to be able to win in the losers final, because the loser of this match is going to face off against the winners in Radiance versus Maryville University, and whoever wins that will face off there, and then the winner there will be able to get back into the finals and try to take on whoever wins this match.
Yeah, and that serious exhaustion can also play a really big part. You have to prepare for so many opponents straight through that you want to always be in the upper bracket to prevent that.
Exactly. You want to have less games, and when you lose too, your opponents who you then face off in the losers finals might have been able to scout that out, figure out exactly what they can play against you, what your lose conditions are, how they can make you go back into that same scenario and that situation that forced you into the losers finals in the first place.
Exactly.
So right here, we gotten a good amount of talking here. I will say I'm really surprised at the priority on Kai'Sa from Shoryu, even though last year you look at Academy, Shoryu did really like that Kai'Sa pick. I'm always someone who's a little bit iffy on still seeing it pop back up.
Yeah, I think it's just a traditional counter to Ezreal. I think if you get the right lane, you can always push the Ezreal in and then try to do stuff for the rest of your team. We'll see if they're able to do that. I think it scales decently well into the Ezreal too, so you can always side lane against the Ezreal. Maybe not contest mid as aggressively, but based on the way the comp works, it looks like Ori will be mid a lot of the time, unlikely to be that pure side laning champ. So maybe that's a way that ANEW can rejig the macro game for themselves. But yeah, beyond that, Kai'Sa, very traditional counter to Ezreal. Again, going back to the draft, I still did not like the fact that if they were going to pick Orianna anyways, that they didn't do it on the 4 pick. You know, very clear condition with their composition with Orianna, and they can still counter the Jace with something like Malphite, Wukong. You know, people have a lot of options. Some people like GP, things like that, and you know, have a better condition that way. But they still got the Orianna. They still got the full. Everyone, you know, press W, click all the way at the Nexus, see what happens. Comp. So let's see what happens.
Exactly. We'll see what happens after a quick ad break. When we come back, game 1 of the winter finals.
Started with a vision of quality, a vision of uniformity.
We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing, something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
Welcome back in, guys. We are here on the Rift for Game 1 of the Upsurge Summer Playoffs here for the winners finals between 100 Thieves next and ANEW Esports. As you can see, no one really taking anything too fancy, kind of just getting a little bit of a pushback from Fire mid lane, but everyone going for that typical line of scrimmage that you tend to see here in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one point of interest is Spellbook on the Orianna. So not taking the phase rush, so she's a little more vulnerable to the Trundle. But you shouldn't expect too much pressure into a Corki lane. You know, not the greatest lane to set up ganks for at all. So, yeah, if anything, the Trundle might do a path crossover through mid with Pillar, maybe chunk out the Ori a bit, but you know, beyond that, not really be able to do too much.
Especially because it is press the attack Trundle, something that you typically do see. Just to be able to get a little bit of extra damage for a gank like that when you don't have much setup coming from your lanes. You look at most of the lanes for 100 Thieves next, and there isn't really like much setup in general. Only really Auto on that Thresh is going to be able to help back up that Trundle besides getting Trundle Pillar. So there's going to be a lot onto the back of Kenby and his pathing and how they play around that, which, of course, then you look over towards the side of ANEW. And that's probably how they're going to have to start playing. Make sure that they can at least provide a little bit more because they do have good damage coming in from Fire, but not going to be able to back that up until Shockwave's really available.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I really like seeing is just the jungle pathing. So both junglers pathing down, trying to affect this bot lane potentially. You know, it's probably the most aggressive lane we're going to be seeing in the early game with the Rakan and the Thresh duking it out. As you can see, they're just starting to trade Rakan on the losing end of that one. Yeah.
Top lane. Oh, that did not look good for Rodov, and that's what we expected when you blind pick Kennen, allow that counter pick of Jace to be able to go up against you. Yeah, not going to have a good time, unfortunately, Rodov, and I expect that to happen a lot more in the coming minutes.
Yeah, and, you know, like we said in the pregame, this is a team that really likes to, you know, give resources, including draft resources, to their top laner. So not playing towards that. You know, Zig is a top laner too. I'm sure he knows the perils of being counterpicked, and he drafted for his top laner a blind when he otherwise couldn't or didn't need to, right? So.
I mean, it's Zig versus Fallen Bandit, which I find really interesting.
Two top laners.
Two top laners going off against each other in draft, so it's you expect both of them to be like, oh, I'm gonna get a blind pick.
Just like top lane draft is an island, right? So Trundle actually reverse clearing, going for that top scuttle, knowing that a new bot lane has that priority in bot, so Set is able to get the bot scuttle recall. Both teams, junglers leaving up their Krugs. We'll see if they're going to start fighting at the Krugs. You know, Mike Young has that jungle item advantage, but Trundle has the top pushing. So we'll see if there's a little scrap at Krugs, but otherwise, don't expect too much.
Yeah, I was really hoping you were going to say that Trundle has the advantage of actually having a weapon and not just his fist.
But Set has two fists, so...
Yes, but wouldn't you rather have a gigantic club made of like unmelting ice than two fists?
Or unmelting garbage in this case, right?
That's true, because it is.
Yeah.
But right now, we are seeing that Kenby is going for a bit of an invade into Mike Young. Wasn't really able to get much off of it. More just the pressure of making sure that Mike Young can't do much. As Copy, taking a good chunk of damage in that mid lane against Fire pretty much laying down that force and saying, you might be the rookie here, but I've been around the block many a times, and I deserve to get back into that academy slot.
Yeah, actually, the invade was super interesting. Didn't pull Jace at all. Oh, we got some action in bot.
Yeah, just a little bit of trade back and forth between the two. Force, nothing too critical. As top lane, Rodov taking a lot of damage coming in from Tenacity, knocked back as well. But unfortunately for Tenacity, not having the mana to be able to back that up, Rodov going to be able to get that stun off and then back off, say, all right, you didn't win that trade as well as you would hope. Bot lane still having more action back and forth. Good hook is going to be able to land onto Shoryu as Yeon might take the passive brunt damage. Will be able to Arcane Shift away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I was mentioning before, the Trundle invade didn't really do too much. You know, it solidified the pressure top, but, you know, he gets his Krugs respawn. He gets his Krugs and he gets his Raptors respawn, so not even able to contest that. Oh, action in the bot lane.
Nice hook
We're
again
trying to
coming in
just
from Auto,
get on.
but yeah, that's the problem. It's Rakan. That's the one you lock down to. Even if it's not the Zaya Rakan, he's still able to battle dance away, and it's difficult to really tie him down unless you pretty much expend all your CC immediately onto him.
Yeah. One of the other things, actually, we didn't note in the beginning is that Ezreal did not take TP. So even though he does get the space, he does have to walk back.
That is a good point. It is going to be a lot of... Action, they're kind of like... It's the whole battle of attrition where they're just getting a couple blows, but nobody's really getting killed here. It's just trying to get lane pressure and win out in the small victories by forcing your opponent to have to back. Like you said, not having the TP in for Ezreal means that he has to walk all the way back, falls even further behind in CS, allows the Dragon Control to go over.
Yeah.
Ooh. Fire, I do respect that. I
thought you said they were just trading around.
He was. I wasn't expecting them both to flash right there. I was like, I respect over to you, Fire, on that trade. See, for me personally, I believe that Flash is an offensive summoner and should always be used to try to get kills. But that's just me personally.
Is yours on D or F?
It is on F because F is for Flash. So I am one of those players. What about you? Unbird? Is it D?
I've got it on D, yeah.
So that I was like, people who are actually good at the game usually put it on D. I'm not gonna. This is why I
actually I think pros are pretty split. You see a lane swap here too, a minute before Dragon. Pretty early on. They were also second to base off bottom. No one has tier buy.
That is definitely an interesting swap. It's not when you'd expect it. You expect it to be a lot closer to when Rift Herald is going to be able to spawn, so they could fight over that. Maybe they're just trying to get the lane priority first, since it isn't a TP for Yeon, which means not only will he have to recall, he'll have to walk back all the way there. They're going to lose pressure in that top lane with the minions crashing into the turret, which could then further allow the vision control to go to the side of ANEW.
Yeah, one thing I really like about this swap generally, and one thing that teams don't usually think about when it comes to swapping, is just how much it impacts the enemy top laner in that situation. So you see Jace spacing here. He very clearly doesn't want to be in a 2v1 situation. He wants to be in that isolated 1v1 to pressure the Kennen. If he's in 2v1 situation under tower, you're not playing to what makes Jace so strong. So I think that was one really good element of the swap here. But it looks like we're about to have some action on the Herald side of things as ANEW starts it up.
They are going to use the True Shot Barrage to at least get a little bit of chip damage on Shore You.
Package coming in as well.
Oh, exactly. And you can already see that, look, Murdoch is able to pass all the way up here. He swapped out to Ignite, so he doesn't have TP, but it's going to be the smite that secures it over to the side of Kenby. It's going to be the first blood kill going over to Yeon. They're going to be able to get the Shockwave onto one, but it's going to be a huge amount of damage coming in from the side of ANEW, locking him down with a slicing nails from Yeon. Nowhere to be able to run out of this fight, and the kill goes over to Fire. Two-way split. Both teams getting 2 kills, but it was Rift Herald and the Eye picked up by Kenby.
Yeah, and Rodov actually was moving up, but had to blow his TP anyways. So that lets Jace rail that bot turret. Doesn't get to keep his TP. 2 for 2. They don't even get the Herald, so that was the objective they started. So all things considered, really, really good 400 Thieves. They use their package timing. They get something out of it because they get to take the Herald. Jace gets 2 plates bottom. Kennen has to TP even though he is moving up the entire time. And yeah, that was pretty rough for ANEW, I have to say.
That's the crazy thing. It was a 4v5 fight. They had the advantage for ANEW. It's 2-2 split, like you said, and the Eye goes over to 100 Thieves next. That's a massive win for them, since they were the ones trying to react to the play coming in from ANEW. And then they get all those plates bot lane that pours more gold into their pockets. So where they were behind, even if it was only a couple hundred to ANEW before that play, now they find themselves just a little bit with that edge.
Yeah, and I think the next Dragon is going to be kind of the telling blow, because we have a really, really aggressive build on the Kai'Sa. If jungle is able to get Cinderhulk, if mid is able to get Ludens on that timer, it could be very, very close. I believe Ori is about 100 gold away from that Ludens, so because she skipped boots. So that can be kind of the next explosive fight. And remember, these are the fights that ANEW want to be taking. Even though it didn't go in their favor, they need to keep that pressure up and constantly be fighting 5v5 around the objective, because that's the goal of their comp. And in order to do that, they always need to be at the objective first.
But they won't be able to have Rodolph a part of it this time. You see Mike Young almost getting himself caught out. He uses the Haymaker to get a lot of damage onto Otto, but True Shot Barrage does a lot more damage. I picked up a kill for Gion. Even though Otto had to go golden, he's going to be able to get away. He was able to get the shield, misses the hook, but they get the kill. Oh, there it is, barely onto Otto with the Otto coming in. And Copy trying to fight against Fire, just cannot do it. Can be himself, trying to see if he can dodge away from the damage coming in from Shoryu. Barely is going to be able to get away from that. That's the fight that ANEW wanted to be able to take. They find themselves this time with the edge, 3-4-2.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, aggressive Kai'Sa build, even more aggressive Kai'Sa ultis. They able to flash over, get the kill on the Ezreal, be able to spec into those double pickaxe, help that fight a lot, even though it didn't start that well for ANEW.
Yes. Tenacity and Rodolph do fight a little bit in the top lane, skirmishing continuing across the map. But with that one fight from before, it is going to be ANEW who try to see if they can get themselves their second dragon of the game. Of course, 100 Thieves next have gotten at least a little bit of vision with the Brew Trinket, but it's Winter who at least distracts them, keeps them away so they can't jump in.
Yeah, absolutely great Recon W there, making sure they just can't walk up and just smite the thing. And yeah, now we get Herald on the bot side. That's 3 plates for Corki pretty much, and Kai'Sa just has to catch the wave.
Exactly. It should be the first chart gold as well, going over to the side of 100 Thieves next, keeping them in the lead this time. And now it jumps them over to 1,000 gold above ANEW Esports. Even though, sure, you should be able to stop that from crashing and getting another charge.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah, they have numbers advantage down there, too.
Yeah, they do. Are they going to be able to get away from this? Copy and Kenvi do seem like they're actually going to be able to dodge away from the fight. Winter did not want to engage. Sure, you had to catch the minions like you were talking about, Invert.
Yeah, and for me, just, if they're going to commit to crashing that Herald, we should see them commit on the side of ANEW on a 3v2 situation. They have TP on both top laners, so yeah.
I hear we actually have a replay of that last fight around the dragon, so if we have that, let's take a look at the replay. You can see here, it starts off where it looks like Mike Young gets himself caught out at first, and he does a lot to keep the fight going for his team to show up.
Yeah, he is able to stall out really well with the shield and get the ulti in, but I think it's a great stopwatch by Fresh overall, be able to pull himself out, get the lantern. But I just think this Kai'Sa is way too strong at this point. The double pickaxe allowing him to just completely melt the characters on the side of 100.
Completely agree with you, because it looked like it was a pretty messy fight. Mike Young getting himself caught out, Otto almost surviving, but Shoryu, the aggressive ult forward with that killer instinct, then flashing over the wall to be able to pick up the kill right after that. A lot of respect over to him. That's why he's right now got 100% kill participation in this game, even though being the ADC. 2-0-3 has completed that Manamune, is going to be able to start stacking that up right as the turret plates only have about 30 seconds left, so a little bit of cash going to be picked up where it can.
Yeah, the unfortunate part of that double pickaxe build, of course, is that the Manamune is only stacking now. So, we're going to see that maybe 10 minutes later, hopefully less, if he keeps, autoing these characters to death. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty late transformation. So his spike, even though he's ahead, might be a little later as a result of that.
At least for now. And we're still saying that everyone's starting now moving towards the next objective, which is going to be that second Rift Herald of the game, with both dragons having been controlled by the side of ANEW. 100 Thieves want to say that they can control both the Rift Heralds, but unfortunately, it is still 100 Thieves that are first on the mark, first ones to push out the vision control around the objective.
Yeah, they do have 5 there, and there is no flank ward for the cannon.
All right, that was an interesting package coming in from Copy, getting the flash out of 5 Fire, but it's going to be the flash coming in from Kennedy to pick up the kill onto 5 Fire. Hook is going to be able to land. Pretty big shield coming in from the Haymaker, but it's not enough, and they're going to be able to get 2 kills for none on the side of 100 Thieves next, and might even be able to get that turret.
Yeah, that was just sloppy by ANEW. They knew that they were there first on the map. They used all their recon wards, did not get a flank, and then they were getting packaged on, but now there's counter.
Wow. Okay, Yeon got himself way too far out. It's going to be the shutdown coming in for Winter. Sure, you're taking a lot of damage. Wants to be able to get that last auto, but Copy makes quick work of him getting the flash out of Winter as well. So even though, sure, you use that aggressive ult again, This time it did not pan out well.
Yeah, and that's a shutdown, I believe, going over
Mhm.
200 Thieves. So, ballooning that gold lead, they got the Herald for free, and they're just gonna lose spot, I presume. And
Oh, they
oh
might
no,
even lose
they're
Winter here. Winter gets himself caught out. Good shockwave comes in from Fire to disengage that fight, and the TP was expended by Rodev. So unfortunately, they are going to have a pretty big cooldown lost from that fight.
oh man, it's just blunder after blunder in the second Herald situation. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you're
agree.
not using TP for the initial play, not respecting the package, trying to contest the mid wave, down numbers, and now the Kennen TP is, there's a bit of a misfire there. So now he has the exhaust, maybe helps that 1v1 a bit, but those were ANEW's timers to get that initial control, get that flank ward, let the Kennen come into the fight, and they just didn't capitalize on it.
Not at all. And Kenby was able to solo out that Rift Herald, so it's the second one picked up by 100 Thieves next. Should be able to pop that item soon in that mid lane, since you want to be able to really crack that tier 1 mid so you can push in further, try to get vision control. But it's going to be the Hex Flash coming in, catching out Otto, but he's still alive quite some time. Even with Mike Young using the Showstopper to try to see if they can drag him back, he's going to be able to flash away. A little bit of damage coming in from Copy on the other side, but he's going to have the Valkyrie over the wall to be able to get away. A little bit of poke coming in from Tenacity. All 5 members of both squads here try to fight around that Ocean Dragon with the Rift Herald already used. Going to get the damage on to Winter, who's going to be able to battle dance over the wall. Nobody committing to the fight further. Even though all 5 are here for the NARAM, nobody wants to start the fight just yet.
Yeah, well, Jace gets the Herald into the turret, and they're able to get the next wave too. So they have inside track through the river. Now ANEW has to come through the other way, can't come through the mid lane, and they're losing the mid wave at the same time because they really want that soul.
They really do. And being in Soul Point, I argue, is one of the strongest things to be able to have. Just being able to have that advantage over your opponents and force them to always have to fight over every single dragon, especially with the Baron going to be spawning up here in a couple minutes, makes it that ANEW want to play around this objective. They want to be able to find their way in. As 100 Thieves next understand that as well. They're not going to give this up with no fight. They still are in a position, but they got to be careful of
That's
the flank
getting
coming
low.
in. It is Smite down. It is going to be the flank coming in from Rodev. Looking to see who they can lock down. It's going to be Kenby who dies first with Rodev falling out.
Oh!
Wow, what a shockwave coming in from Fire. Copy is going to go down to the grave as well. Only Tenacity getting out of there alive, but he knows it is all for naught. It's going to be the shutdown and ace picked up by ANEW.
That fight, that whole situation, saved by a single shockwave. And that's what I'm talking about, Mad Magical. You get that dive composition, you get that flank, everyone's going in, everyone's rolling in, and you think everything's done, and then suddenly we're going in again, right? We get the Kaisal, we get the shockwave, and, that's, I wouldn't say that's the game, but they're on Soul Point. Ocean against the poke comp, incredibly important.
Especially for this team fight heavy comp that was drafted by ANEW. They played it perfectly. It went right into the hands, the flank in from Rodev. Sure, he might have died first, but it allowed for that great shockwave out of Fire, immediately getting 3 members and nuking them down. So they was cleanup crew after that.
Absolutely. And if we look at kind of what's next, I think Baron is going to be the next play. Both teams really want to get those top tier ones down. And I think we got a little poke, a little...
Ooh, even got the exhaust coming in. Going to be able to get the knockup from the grand entrance and the killing spree for Fire. With no jungler here, sure, the Baron's not going to be up for another minute. It's all about just having that objective lead and being able to push in mid, but Fire unfortunately walks right into the arms and hands of Copy. The exhaust comes through and the shutdown gold over to Copy.
Just full of confidence and full of hubris. That's what happened in that last minute or so. But... opens up the pressure to get the tier 2 mid and the Ezreal flash at the same time.
Nicely done by Mike Young using the Hex Flash to be able to get that. There's going to be the Redemption coming down to heal them up, try to continue the fight. They don't have Copy here, but they do have the TP if they need to. They want to be able to continue that, but it's going to be Rodev looking to see if they can get the pick onto Otto. They lock him down for way too long. They pull back in as well to make sure that the bot lane of 100 Thieves next finds themselves dead in the ground. Shore you on a killing spree here. Baron about to spawn up, but they don't care. They just want to be able to back off, buy some items, and then put the vision around the objective.
Yeah, I mean, the turret's already dead, and your Corki is pushing the side lane in. You don't need to contest that aggressively, and they get punished for it, especially because Ezreal just blew his flash, still felt safe, but unfortunately, that wasn't the timer to be aggressive when you blow your flash like that.
Not at all. So I do hear that we have a replay from that last dragon fight around the Ocean Soul point that we were talking about that just worked so well for ANEW Esports. You look at this, there's the flank from Rodev that started off, but it was really the Five Fire show right there.
Yeah, and the shockwave into the Kaisel, into another Kaisa Q. Just no way that they can be holding that space when the Ori ball is still there.
And this is the thing we were talking about in Champion Select. We talked about the win conditions for both teams, the flank potentials that you can get from ANEW Esports, where they're able to use Rodev to flank around, find the picks they need to. But then for the side of 100 Thieves Next, it was more meant to be about split pushing, 1-3-1, getting the poke that they need to, kind of forcing the hand constantly of the side of ANEW, where they never could have that typical front-to-back team fight that they want to.
100%. And if you look at what's happening here, they're giving up the side lanes. They're trying to get that mid pressure and start a fight while the enemy is down numbers. And, that Bob's your uncle. That's just how their team comp plays out. And 100 Thieves Next is playing right into their win condition.
Exactly, and they just give a free kill again over to the side of ANEW, where Kenvi thinks that he can go out and get a little bit of vision control, take away some of the control orbs, but he only has Knight's Vow. He's not going to be able to survive that damage coming in from ANEW, and we just saw that happen with now Baron up. Kenvi still 10 seconds up from being able to respawn. It's going to be the Baron play.
One thing that I do want to note for this fight is Kaisa can build the Rage Blade stacks on the Baron, and even further than that, Bid and AD for 100 Thieves both have their mirror mana, so we'll see how heavy the contest is.
Oh, no contest at all, and they lose copy for it as well. Otto tries his best to keep the team going, but with no Baron, no mid laner, it's going to be ANEW who walk away from that scot-free.
Yeah, and one of the key things that you have to have when you're playing against these death ball teamfight compositions is a lot of discipline, and we're just not seeing it on the side of 100 Thieves.
Not at the moment, unfortunately. But you talked about the hubris coming in from Five Fire, where he was playing a little greedy, just walking in blind into the brush. I feel like that was 100 Thieves next coming into this entire game. They played this one feeling like, oh, it's just going to be the death ball comp. It's going to be teamfight comp. We can play aggressively if we want, because it's going to be a burden of execution onto them to play these team fights right. Well, ANEW have been doing that very well, and they're showing it again with a pick onto Tenacity. Otto on the wrong side of the river from his team, and it means that he has to walk the long way, losing Kenvi, with the Flash going to be able to survive barely for the fight to the time being. And there it is. Kenvi dies. Copy 2. He's about to find himself right in the grave with his teammate, but they get the double kill coming in onto Otto. Copy still waddling away from that fight. He does get the kill onto Winter, but it doesn't matter. With everyone else dead and only Yeon up, it is the Ocean Soul that is on the minds of ANEW.
Yeah, I mean, Ocean Soul at this point, pretty much a given the state of that third dragon fight and just how powerful this Kaisa is. Doesn't even need the mirror mana to be melting this team, given how squishy they are. I think the other thing that is really important to look at is, again, look at how all these fights played out in the neutral objectives the past little bit. When 100 Thieves was winning, it's because they're keeping the range, they're pushing at the sides, they get to collapse first. And when they're losing, it's because they just get overconfident, they get too greedy, and they run right into the death ball. So I think that's something definitely to look at for the rest of the series.
When you talked about it, you were talking about how fast and how quickly teams lose and win here. Well, for the side of 100 Thieves Next, unfortunately, it looks like they're continuing that trend because we are only 24 minutes into the game. We have a sizable gold difference, nearly 5,500 for the side of ANEW Esports. And since they like to also win really quickly, I don't expect this game to last too much longer.
Yeah, they're, being methodical about it, making sure they get all the tier 1 towers first and playing to that side, giving up the other side of the map. Unfortunately, they might lose a bot tier 2 for this.
Okay, that was interesting. Well, Brodov, yeah, I think you are right. He's playing mid lane. Tenacity was able to get a pretty good push into that bottom lane, but it is contested completely on the other side by Shoryu, so it is going to be a trade of turret for turret.
They are matching the Baron push with the Jace push. They do have to send someone to answer this.
It's going to be Rodov who goes back. I was waiting for that to happen, but it is going to be the fight attempted. Shockwave not going to connect, but there's going to be a lot of damage onto Copy. Going to be able to get the redemption as well from Otto. The hook is going to be able to land onto Oriana. Nobody's able to keep him alive anymore. It's going to be the kill coming in from Copy. Winter going to possibly fall into the grave, barely getting alive over the wall, but it's going to be the flash coming in from Tenacity, jumping onto Shoryu, getting a lot of damage, but Tenacity is going to be the first to die, then Shoryu afterwards. Winter running way away from the teammates. You can see that Mike Young was on the top half. Rodov does not have TP to be able to join in, so there's actually going to be a well-fought fight coming in from the side of 100 Thieves next, with Winter barely dodging away from that true shot barrage.
Very well played by 100 Thieves. They knew their condition. They want the Jace to push out. Someone has to recall to answer. And if someone's recalling to answer, you know what that means, Mad Magical. That means that they have numbers disadvantage when they're pushing with Baron.
Pushing with Baron's number disadvantage and no TP for Rodov, so no way they can really fight back in that. And 400 Thieves next is showing the life left in them. You're talking about how it's like games ending fastly. Well, they're saying, no, the stats, those are just old mistakes that we made. We're learning from them. We're trying to fix what we can. Like we said before, it's a bunch of rookie players trying to really make a name for themselves and prove to everyone that they are the next generation, the next ones that we really have to start talking about. But they can start learning from previous mistakes where they lost really quickly, weren't able to have a little bit of life when they found themselves 5,000 gold in the hole. Well, it could be a good future for them yet.
Yeah, and we'll see how they play the rest of the comp out. Corky not really able to push out completely. Has to come and group with the rest of the team. I still think it's going to be very difficult for them to fight into this Ocean Soul, but they do have the range. They do have the damage now with the Triforce, the IE on the Corky, and the Ezreal getting pretty close to that Death's Dance, I believe.
Pretty close to it. I'm still working towards it since it is only the Caulfield's Warhammer with an Executioner's Calling, sitting on about 1,000 gold right now. It is going to be a while till Death Dance comes up to be able to survive a lot more of that engage and the Death Ball that comes in from ANEW. So ANEW instead, they want to be able to get where the gold they can, take away that final outer turret. Now pushing in the Vision, see if they can play around the Elder Dragon that's going to spawn here in quite some time, but still it's a play that they would like to be able to make.
Yeah, I think they'll go for the IE on Kaisa and play for this Baron. Yeah, and that's what we see here. Making sure that they have the right lane assignments as well is going to be really important. Kenna did use the Ignite on bottom to be able to switch back to TP, presumably because he's going to, go bot lane. Hopefully Winter sets up a flank for him and he can TP in.
At least that's what you're hoping for, is to be able to have that flank for Rodov again in the next fight, because the last time they had that, it worked immaculately. Allowed Fire to have a huge shockwave that got them into the position they are now for ANEW. With the Baron spawning up here in just a couple of seconds, trying to see if they can get that again. They have a pretty deep ward. You can see in mid lane that's behind 100 Thieves next right now. With Tenacity having recall, it could have been their moment to strike, but they decided not to because they aren't that confident in their vision control.
Yeah, the best part about that Rodov flank that you mentioned before is that they even saw him the entire time. So they couldn't do anything about it. You see Winter actually put a really, really good ward. I really like this ward in the tier 2, between the tier 2 and tier 1 towers. Just to spot the waves, how many people are on it. And it's a good flank if people are contesting right in the mid lane.
And you can see a couple more of the wards too, more of the flanking wards. You have the one ward you mentioned where it's for the vision, then the other one's for flanks when they start up this Baron as they are right now. They're forcing this fight, forcing the hand out of 100 Thieves because Tenacity decided to go bot lane. No TP to speak of, and Rodov has just been hanging out in the bush, hanging out in the base, I mean.
He wants those home guards.
Exactly, wanted it, and 100 Thieves next did not take the bait. They said, fine, we'll forfeit that, but also what is coming up is going to be the Elder Dragon.
Oh man, they gave up the Baron for position on the Elder. We'll see if it's paid off. They also have package for the Elder fight situation, but they're just getting pushed out.
Oh, and look at that. Copy gets jumped on immediately, having to use the package only to die to the Q coming in from Kaisa Shoryu, doing so much damage to Kenvi on the other side. But look at that flank coming in from Rodov, catching them all out. Double kill coming in. Going to be able to get a lot of damage onto Yeon. Yeon, nowhere to go. Only has to
be cutting off the wave. They have to keep this cannon alive.
That's what they want to do, but it's going to be the kill still here for Mike Young on a Yeon. Jungler versus ADC in 2020. It doesn't ever work out for the ADC. It's a killing spree for Mike Young, and they have the cannon still to be able to push in that inhibitor in mid lane. So there's nothing Tenacity could do in that fight.
Oh man, and now they just go for Elder. Elder, Ocean Soul. While you were looking at the fight, I was looking at mid lane, the Set versus Ezreal. I was just making sure that whether the game was over or not. But we had a little bit of supportal combat, I suppose, based on how they were scrapping, just constantly running at each other.
Exactly, and unfortunately like I said, the ADC in 2020 going up against Set. Set's able to run him down, beat him because there's not much damage that he could do to Set. Got the easy kill, and I think it was because Tenacity was able to hold those minions to make it so that the game just didn't outright end for 100 Thieves next. That's the only reason why the push mid lane didn't work out so well, but I think it works out well enough. They get themselves the Elder Dragon, they have Baron still, they have the Ocean Soul. There's so little in the ways that 100 Thieves next can do because their composition really relied on being able to get ahead, especially that Jace-Kennen matchup where you pick the Jace to beat Kennen. Well, Kennen's been able to get these flanks and be a lot more useful than Jace has been.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different condition too, right? Even though Kennen did get the flanks, he is able to play those objectives a little harder. 100 Thieves just always needed to play to range and always needed to push out the side lanes before thinking about doing anything as a team, anything as a group of 5. They just failed to do that this game. It's totally okay. These team comps, these kinds of 1-3-1 team comps are difficult at this level to pull off. So
very difficult.
I applaud them for trying, but the death ball wins out this time around.
And the death ball 2 wins as well. Rodov saying, all right, you picked the counter. Well, I don't care if you got that. I was able to get the 1v2 kill. Elder Dragon coming in clutch. Redemption going to be raining down, but really it doesn't look like it's going to be able to get much because the inhibitors, they're gone. Then their turrets are gone as well. Nothing is left in the base, and that is going to be game 1 in the winners finals going over to ANEW Esports.
Yeah, and for me, this was one team trying out a very specific style against another specific style. And at this level, for 100 Thieves Next, you just need so much patience and such a good understanding of how to play your waves that we just didn't see it this game, unfortunately, the entire time. Because if you mess up once, you're gonna get steamrolled in every single neutral objective situation. I do think they played the Baron defense pretty well with the side lane push into Jace coming back to the team, but beyond that, just a difficult game all around based on what happened in the mid game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got to go back to that mid game because it was really that one dragon fight where we mentioned it before, Rodov with the flank, the shockwave coming in from Fire. I'm just going to mention it a lot because it was really good. That really was what set the precedent for ANEW to be able to take hold of the game. They had the reins that entire time. Sure, a couple hiccups here and there, Fire getting caught out a little bit where he didn't need to be, or just having a play where, trading too evenly. But outside of that, it was still pretty clean out of ANEW, where they're able to find each fight very well, have Rodov always go for the flank, then be able to lock down many members. No one was able to get away, so they would win usually losing one member and killing 4 or 5 almost every single time from that one fight.
Yeah, and sometimes it didn't work out too, right? Even when they did get to move up, I think the Herald fight to me is just so burned into my memory. It's the quirky package timing. He's just able to perform. Copy was able to perform in that fight with numbers disadvantage. They get the Herald. And then ANEW gets to swing it back around because they get to group up again and try to death ball and move forward and press those ults and just blow someone up before 100 Thieves Next was able to get together and keep their range and kite.
And so before I toss it over to a break, I do want to ask you, Invert, what is one thing you'd like to see change coming in from 100 Thieves Next going into this next draft? Would you like to see them go for something similar, try to see if they could set up a 1-3-1 and more of the play style and how they executed that they'd change? Or do you want to see them try to actually counter the death ball strat that ANEW are playing?
I just want Ken V to really flex his jungle advantage early. He had a favorable jungle pick. He invaded the enemy red side jungle, didn't get any of the respawns of the camps or the initial spawns of the camps, had to go back into his own side, play it out, and after that, wasn't able to help top lane. Top lane kind of got its own advantages. And then I just want 100 Thieves as a team, 100 Thieves Next specifically as a team, to understand their win conditions and play out the win conditions. You don't always have to 5v5 every single objective. Because if you do think that way, then you're going to play like ANEW. And for ANEW on their side, I just want to see better drafting and better laning out of their mid and top. Mid made it super volatile. I think 5Fire traded flashes. And if you're flashless and you don't have phase rush against Trundle, that's a very exploitable time for you. So
Right.
just making sure that you understand the resource trading that you're going to be making in the lane phase. I think their bot lane did it pretty well this game, aside from a few bad chunks on the con. But yeah, that's mostly what I want to see is a little more composure in the lane phase from ANEW side.
Well, we'll have to find out what's going to happen after the break, because right now it's 1-0. ANEW have the lead. They're at match point. They want to be able to get in the grand finals, but 100 Thieves next, of course, they want to be able to do the same. So we'll see if they have that fight back in them after the break. Welcome back into Upsurge. We're here for the summer playoffs. We're in the winners finals right now. ANEW, they're up 1-0. A lot of people came into this, including myself, thinking 100 Thieves next, we're going to slap. They've been looking so hot all summer long, but ANEW, they had a great composition and they played it immaculately in that first round.
Yeah, they came into it with a game plan. 100 Thieves came into it with a completely different game plan. They didn't want to touch ANEW's team fight at all. But we got team fights at the end of it, and the team fight comp is going to win the team fight if they get their engage off, which happened with some really, really great shockwave.
Exactly, and that's the thing that we'd expect out of Five Fire. We were talking about him beforehand. You got to play on at Evil Genius's Academy for a brief stint, and then it was mostly there because of visa issues coming in from Gyu when he was replaced. A lot of people, including myself, wanted to see him back in the Academy. We were like, he deserves to be there. This guy has been doing great work. He's been proving himself so many times. Well, he's here on ANEW to show off how good he is in that mid lane. And on that Orianna, perfect shockwave.
Yeah, and he didn't get punished for his greedy choice of runes and how he was playing super aggressively until that little int in the top tri bush when he was feeling himself a bit.
We don't talk about that either.
But yeah, I mean, a really great showing from Five Fire. And also, can't forget Shoryu. I think he played the Kaisa counterpick to Ezreal really, really well. Even though his support was getting chunked, they still had control of the lane, able to push it out, help their jungler. And then when it came to those team fights, those two were just on the same page about going in and getting the Kaisa shield and Kaisa flank so she could go past the kiting ability of 100.
And the thing I liked about Shoryu on that Kaisa as well is how aggressive some of those killer instincts were, where we're just like, oh, there's no reason to go in. It's 1v3, goes in anyways, is able to get kills, pretty much either trading even or even getting more kills and allowing the team to be able to clean up and win from there. It was well done from Shoryu, and this is a pick I mentioned before that he played a lot back when he was in the Academy, back when it was 2019, pretty much the most played champion for Shoryu, and is really showing off that practice that you got from last year.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Academy in the 2018 spring, I had to play against this guy. His top laner was really fucking good, but that, his own play on stuff like Kaisa and Ezreal was also incredibly solid and always a thorn in our sides on FlyQuest Academy. So.
And that's the thing, is if you have enough practice on it, even if it's not really the meta, I was mentioning it before, Kaisa hasn't been something that we've been seeing too often. Sometimes you can play that well enough and it doesn't really matter. That's what Envy's been doing pretty much this entire time with Kindred, where we get into champions like Tier, and I'm really wondering if that is going to be what 100 Thieves next do here. If they want to try to see if they can get something for Kenvi that's a little bit more aggressive than the Trundle.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, I really appreciated that they tried to switch their style. The blind Trundle didn't get as much pressure as I think they would have liked or that I liked. So we'll see if anything changes with that.
Right now, pretty much looking pretty standard as you get Follow Pair, Graves, banned away, same with Karma from the side of ANEW. Even though they've swapped sides, it does seem that we're not getting too much to change from either team just yet. There it is. That's going to be the adaptation set taken away. The flexibility that ANEW had in the last draft is now gone.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't use it in the last draft, but they definitely had it. Yeah, I mean, Volley's set. A lot of those brawler junglers are being taken out. I don't know how much that helps or hurts Kindred's viability. You still have picks like the Lee Sin and the Nidalee that, someone like Mike Young especially would be very happy to play.
Yeah, you got pretty much that. Jarvan still up as well. Olaf is a pick that has been pretty much a high priority for Mike Young as well. That could easily go. All right, I remember, what was it, back just last split when I was casting Academy, Mike Young randomly locked into AP Shyvana, and I was really baffled by that because it had no reason to be there, but it is a possibility. You can always draft that if you want to. This is the last ban we see. We see Orianna and then Twisted Fate. Roaming potential now gone for ANEW if they wanted to be able to grab that early.
Yeah, I think the TF is a really good ban, and teams are able to play to that condition properly with split pushing and just ganging up on a side lane really easy with that TF ult. We see Ashe hovered, but now
I was about to say, I'm looking at my notes and looking back at the Ashe. I'm like, you played one game of it this entire scouting grounds. You've been
Well,
playing a lot of
Ash has seen a lot of priority in major regions recently.
That's true. That is true.
Where, Dignitas, little known team, Dignitas picked it a couple times. So
Yeah, it is true, but it's just Ezreal was still open, and it's really early to lock in the Ashe. Usually, you want to pick it after you already see what's picked, and then it can be able to bully around Ezreal. So first picking it was what I was questioning. Now picking it, I like from 100 Thieves next.
I really, it really depends how people think of this lane. Obviously, Ashe can get the push on her own early. So we'll see how the supports kind of help with this lane. I'm very curious what the second pick is going to be from 100 Thieves. They just want to complete their bot lane. Totally understandable.
I still would have expected them to try to go for jungle here. That's kind of what I was expecting. Trundle's still open if they wanted to grab, or maybe they're trying to see if they can force Mike Young onto that pick. Say, all right, it's still open. Do you feel confident to go for that? Or do you want to try to see if you can have that flexibility like you did last time and allow Kenby to play something more aggressively?
Yeah, I think there aren't too many flex picks after this as well. So then maybe they feel support is safer. Picking Ashe as like a duo with another champion is what people normally do because they think there's only a few lanes that you can really play with Ashe. In the LPL, we've seen Ashe with Set, Leona, Thresh, Tahm Kench, Karma, Morgana, lots of options, but in this case,
Whoa,
interesting.
That's interesting.
This is another team fighter. We have the Rumble, works with the Rakan, get that CC. I think Rumble is also decent into immobile 80 carries, but the Thresh is on the side of 100 Thieves, so you drop that equalizer down and there's no CC, that Lantern's just going to pull him out of it.
Now, I'm just checking something really quick about the Rumble, because I know that Rodev has played it.
I believe it can be flexed.
It can be flexed. I haven't seen Firefire has actually played it this Scouting Grounds. That's what I was trying to check if it was going to be a flex, because I'm like, I know Rodev's played it, but had Firefire played it this split so far? And he has, so it can still be that flex, and that's what we were talking about from ANEW. They like to have that flexibility.
So now that the Galio has been picked, we'll see if ANEW wants to counter with anything specific. I do know that their comp is fairly magic damage heavy right now. Getting rid of the Camille so you don't have that combination with Galio, I think is very good on the side of ANEW.
I think we even saw 100 Thieves actually play that against Cloud9 in their victory, as they had the Galio Camille combination to be able to have the delivery for the heroic.
Yeah, as well. They had Ashe, Karma, Olaf on that team.
That is, yeah, that's right. They had all that. So it's very much, it just all works out well together. We see the double up on the jungle bands coming in from 100 Thieves next. The Rek'Sai taken away from Mike Young. With Aurelia still being hovered, there it is. It is going to still be banned, same as last time. Another champion that could work well with Galio whenever he goes in, as Lee Sin gets locked in for the jungle role.
These do look like Rumble top bans as well, potentially. I know Camille, people do like that matchup into the Rumble. Now, if you do pick Fiddlesticks, you are indexing very heavily into magic damage. But there's the Wukong.
We're both kind of like questioning here, because we were so surprised by that Rumble getting locked in when it was. But it's like, what does ANEW want to do? Do they want to flex Rumble, or they don't? It seems like it is going to be the Rumble mid lane with Wukong top. Wukong could be jungle, but I just don't expect that. I'm expecting it to be for Rodev with a Fire pick for Rumble, and this is where I want to see what they play jungle. What are they going to pick into Lee Sin, since Rek'Sai and Olaf, two picks that generally do well into Lee Sin, are both gone.
There's not too much left. Again, not wanting to index into magic damage, and it is going to be the jungle Wukong while Corki plays into Galio. That's what I would suspect. Rumble in the jungle, maybe likely. I haven't seen that in quite a while, though.
I was going to say, it's been a while, and I'm even looking over my notes, and Mike Young hasn't played Rumble or Wukong this Scouting Ground circuit. So it's definitely one of those picks. It's like Set, when Set first started getting to the jungle, and people realizing it does really well, they're like, okay, it actually is strong. Maybe that's the same with Wukong here. I just don't see enough Wukong jungle to say this is a definite pick that I'm very confident in.
Well, I've seen a lot of Wukong jungle. I can tell you it's okay into Lee Sin. It's not the greatest matchup that you want to be playing. given the bans, there's pretty much 4 junglers banned on the side of 100 Thieves, and Graves banned on ANEW side. There aren't too many options that really work well into the Lee Sin. Just based on team comps, though, I do really like what 100 Thieves is doing now. They're playing with 2 globals and a split pushing Rise. And they have early jungle pressure with a Lee Sin that was protected very well in the draft. On ANEW side, I don't necessarily know what they want to be doing with their comp. They have double equalizers, quote unquote, with the Gorky package and the Rumble ulti. And Wukong and Rakan, of course, are great team fighters. Ezreal can be a really good team fighter, shifting forward as well. It seems like another version of this team fighting style that we saw in Game 1, but it's not as clear cut to me how they want to start fights and how they're going to be able to get them off against champs like the Thresh and champs like the Lee Sin.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm looking at this, and I almost even see like ANEW kind of taking a page out of 100 Thieves' next book from last game, where it's like, okay, we have elements to be able to split push if we want to, but we still are able to hold on, retain a little bit of our team fight. While 100 Thieves next, they've adapted. They've adapted very well in this scenario and are far more heavily prioritizing on the team fight with an option to be able to split push, where they can, like you said, send Rise into side lane, use him to be able to force others to try to go wherever he is, and then you have Lee Sin Galio combination when Lee Sin tries to go in, Galio right on top of him.
Yeah, and we can confirm it is Wukong jungle, it is Rumble top. Yeah, I mean, I just have to see it, I guess, because if you think about what you need for champs like Rumble and Wukong and Corki, is you want that lockdown, right? You need to see some sort of lockdown on the other side. For Ezreal Corki, it's so they can be kiting. But now they're playing with Wukong, who wants to go in. So, maybe would have liked to see something, AD jungle like Jarvan to play well with the immobile AD. But then you see Thresh in the game, so I think ANEW was pinched a bit in draft. I think 100 Thieves did a pretty good job of protecting their picks in the draft, and they just come up with a more cohesive comp as a result.
I agree with you, and I honestly wonder if it all goes back to that Ezreal first pick coming in for Shoryu, where last game they counterpicked the Ezreal. Even though Ezreal is considered one of the top ADCs right now, they went for Kai'Sa, got something that is going to be more of a traditional counter to be able to bully him in the later game and be able to follow up wherever he goes. But this time they opted to put themselves in that position where they could get countered. They're the ones now going to be bullied around by Ashe, who's just going to throw volley after volley and make it that much more difficult for Ezreal to even stay in lane.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is if you're going to pick Wukong and you as a team have the knowledge that you flex the champion, picking it earlier can, put 100 Thieves in a tricky position where they may not know you flex it and then pick a top matchup that you can easily counter. Or things like that. So
right, but they go for Rumble there and allow the Rumble now to be countered by either Galio or Rise. You can't put Rumble into Galio because that's just going to be a miserable time for a Rumble. And now you put it against the Rise, who's just going to be able to bully him out all the time.
They also banned out the Orianna themselves, which is a pick that we actually traditionally see work really well with the Wukong, because of course you're knocking people up and then you're knocking them up again and then you're knocking them up. But yeah, we don't really see it on the side of ANEW, and it's a pretty curious ban, especially because they were the ones that played it and played it so well.
And so here it is going to put a lot of the burden of execution onto the side of ANEW, where last game it was a burden of execution onto 100 Thieves next. Well, ANEW put themselves in that same position.
Yes, and maybe they're calling out 100 Thieves too, saying, hey, we're going to give ourselves the harder to pull off comp, and we're going to do it right in your face. So maybe that's going to work out for them, or maybe we'll see game.
We'll see. We'll have to really see what's going to go on, because I'm looking now over to 100 Thieves next, and I do like what they've drafted for themselves. It feels very simple, very easy to be able to execute the pick potential in from an Ashe Thresh as well as Lee Sin, with Galio to keep them locked down, with Rise to be able to flank them if they need to. It feels good.
Yeah, I mean, you have really decent mid 2v2, your bot 2v2 is very solid. Again, you have 2 globals. It's very easy for 100 Thieves to start fights if they're in position. and they are going to have Rise split push. Now, how that matches into the Corki potentially later in the game, that's something that we have to think about and consider a little more. Maybe 100 Thieves feels like they can't match the Rise into the Corki, so he goes to the other side of the map. A lot of really interesting moving parts with that one.
And before we do jump into the game, I do want to give a quick shout out really quick. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with paraphernalia. From keyboards to mouse to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming paraphernalias around. Kono have been huge sponsors and supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pools. If you need to find a new keyboard, check out the Hex Gears X1 RGB low profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. You can use the discount code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order. For more information, head over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO store. Kono, discover amazing products. Like I said, just want to give that quick shout out to Kono before we do jump into the game. We're really close to being able to hop in and see a game 2 of the winter finals. It's going to be really exciting to see how they're going to be able to match up in this second game.
Yeah, and we'll see if we get game 3 too.
Welcome back. We're here for game 2 of the winter finals for the summer playoffs. ANEW Esports, they're up 1-0 to 100 Thieves next. And we talked about it in the draft. We were saying how we liked what 100 Thieves next have got going for themselves. But it's really going to be on how they're able to execute this if they want to be able to pick up that win.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at the skin game right now, I think I don't know. I think ANEW's got a pretty good lineup for themselves.
I do too. I'm really curious to see what's going to be able to happen here, what they're going to be able to get for themselves in terms of how this is actually going to be executed, because it is a wonky draft. We haven't seen much Wukong jungle. I mean, you see it in solo queue. You just don't often see it here on this competitive level.
Yeah, we actually played Wukong jungle in LCS. It was against our game against C9. We got a triple kill with it in the bot lane, and then some stuff happened afterward. Don't really want to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I think the champion is definitely viable in the jungle, especially just adding value as a flex pick, because it can also be played support with Senna. It can also be played top lane.
Exactly. It's gonna hopefully be able to work out here going into this game right now, as Nobody wanted to go for anything too cheeky, even though Rodup did push up pretty far on Rumble against Rise, since Rise really wants to be level 4 where he can truly be able to bully Rumble in lane. For now, it's kind of just waiting it out.
Yeah, and Rise getting some chip damage in there. Corki, of course, has the range advantage. And Ashe as well, being able to chunk out Rakan like that with the range advantage is really, really important.
Exactly. So it is. We just saw a little bit of trade back and forth, and damage. Nobody be really taking anything too much, and I'm really interested to see this jungle path coming in from Wukong, since, like I said, we haven't seen it too much, and I do keep going back to this point because it is interesting. You went for the red start.
I can talk about the champion more generally with the with the way his damage works, the attack speed buff that he has, the ability for the clone to tank hits. He really wants to be prioritizing the camps with less minions, so not the Krugs, not the Raptors. Wants to be doing those single target camps first, and then looking for something on the map so that he's able to play. For example,
For Flash, unfortunate for Fire. One auto away, almost got it onto copy, but Kenvi was in the right place at the right time.
Way too aggressive from Fire. Just getting the flash on your own with your jungler hovering you. Perfect. You're able to blow the TP, get back on time to contest the crab, which is exactly what Wukong wants in those situations. And now we dive.
Oh, with the TP as well. They are just making sure they bully around ANEW. They get the kill on a Winter, easily executed at level 3. That dive from 100 Thieves, 1,000 gold already.
Yeah, and this is just a snowball effect, both from the bot priority and the thing that happened mid. Now that mid is dead, Wukong cannot walk bot lane, has to give up the bot control, and that allows 100 Thieves to walk in and make that play.
So, okay.
Yeah, and that is just the name of the game here. I mean, now Wukong doesn't have a lot of options. The entire top side has been taken. He just has to wait for those camps to respawn or go for the flashless target here. So you're going to see the Rakan move in. W gets canceled. Oh, and it's unfortunate. But Galio is still able to be killed just because he blew his flash over.
I don't know if you can hear me now. Invert, am I back?
All good. I practiced some play-by-play while you were gone.
Okay, perfect. I don't know what happened because I could hear you still. Apparently my audio just decided it didn't want to be there for a second, but I'm back. Hello. It is going to be just that nice kill coming in from the side of ANEW, at least getting him a little bit more gold, but really they're still sitting pretty far behind, and I want to see what's going to go on for 100 Thieves next, now that they got this early snowball you mentioned before, and where they really going to be able to put that prioritization on to objective control.
Yeah, and not only that, just how are they going to use their priority moving forward? The dragon just spawned. They're going to keep the bot lane priority. Mid lane, Corki has Tyr and Nicole, isn't really able to match the wave clear of Galio at this point. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for 100 to clean up the neutral objectives on the map.
There you have the Mountain Dragon being the first thing that they could go for. Rift Herald is going to spawn here in about 2.5 minutes. And you already even have Copy playing very aggressively in position. Rodov having to flash away. The flash coming in from Tenacity, trying to see if they could follow it up. He got far enough away, so he didn't have to worry about getting dove by Kenvi, who had already blown flash trying to get the Sonic Wave. That's enough to keep
jungle.
Okay, that's interesting to see. Copy just walks over and says, okay, I see you're trying to counter jungle. These are actually my chickens. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it seems very difficult to beat Wukong in this game, but he is ahead. I do think Kenvi has a lot more lanes to play around, but he did use his flash in that top lane encounter, so it is going to be a little difficult. As you can see here, the Corki is just able to get out of that mid lane.
Yeah, that's the only problem I saw with the play from 100 Thieves next, is they used both flashes trying to get rid of and weren't even able to get it. Sure, they got the flash out of Rumble, who's very immobile and easy to be able to lock down, but having to use 2 flashes and getting nothing still feels bad. And might even give Mike Young a little bit of an advantage here now on Wukong, who is looking to see if he can get the first objective, get that Mountain Dragon, similar to last game where it was all on ANEW, who had the dragon control.
Yeah, I mean, the wave bounced back on the side of 100 Thieves, so they didn't use that timer to get the dragon. So that means that the wave builds up on bottom, support is freed to help the jungler, and I think it's also a product of blowing that flash in top lane. You don't really want to be contesting these objectives when you're down summoner spells.
No, not at all. You just pretty much give it up, and it's only the first dragon too. It's nothing too special. It's not like you're getting within soul point here. Sure, it's going to make it so that you don't snowball super hard and try to win the game really quickly, but it is just one objective. They might play a little harder around that Rift Herald since they do have the advantage for tenacity around Rodov. They even have Kenby playing heavily on that top side.
Yeah, and it's really, I suppose, easy for ANEW to scale now, both in the mid and jungle and bot positions, just because they took that first dragon. So the soul condition is kind of delayed on the side of 100 Thieves next. They're going to have to wait till about 28 minutes before they even think about getting soul for themselves.
But this is still interesting pathing coming in from Kenby with the Rift Herald spawning, having the push in for tenacity. He heads to the bot side trying to get some more experience, try to be able to catch up, but that just allows Mike Young now to path up to the top side. They already have amazing vision control on that river on the bottom half of the map. And you even see a lane swap coming now in from Yon and Otto, where they're trying to see if they can swap up top to be able to contest that Rift Herald, but it feels like it's all at a disadvantage to the side of ANEW.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things about this swap is actually the Ezreal having TP. So the side of ANEW can actually just keep their lanes, keep the Ezreal bot. If anything ever happens top, he just comes in. The recon movement is totally fine, but instead they elect to match, which means that the Rumble is actually going to lose out on farm on the bottom side of the map.
And he's also spotted out on a ward here too. So with Kenby now finally there around Krugs, could have been that he could have gotten punished for his positioning. He is still pretty far up, trying to see if he can push back Yon from being able to get towards that Rift Herald, but it's enough time that has passed for Shoryu and Winter to have path up to the top side. Sure, they've left Rodov here this entire time, but they might actually have a better fight around that Rift Herald than previously had been before.
Oh, this is brutal stuff for the Rumble as well. He has absolutely nothing to do. Copy has to burn his flash. But now the Rumble walks back bottom with no TP. They have to give up this Herald in the Herald situation because of this. And the Rise gets 3 plates on the bot side for free. Absolutely abysmal map movement on the side of it. I think this is something that ANEW and even other teams would want to VOD review to figure.
Right now the fight is still there around the Rift Herald. It was a jump coming in from Kenby. Did he steal it? No, he didn't. It was still smite secure for Mike Young. So despite the fact that I agreed that was not the best play coming in from ANEW and it lost them a lot, they still secure the objective.
Yeah, and wow, they got the Herald too. I mean, this entire sequence from like 7:30 to now, it's just so interesting because the teams have they were kind of throwing the game to each other. You know, they're like, here, you take Herald. Oh no, you take Herald. Oh no, I insist. You can have Herald. While I pick up 3 plate spot. Yeah.
Very odd. I don't know how I feel about that. And there was a potential dive for the side of ANEW. They would look like they wanted to see if they can go onto tenacity since it is a Rise without any mana at the moment, but they had to fall back. Kenby was in the area. Now that you actually have pretty much both sides matching up against one another, Gold nearly dead even despite the early plays for the side of 100 Thieves next. It's allowing both teams, like you said, to throw back and forth to remain even. The flash from Yon, but a good denial on the side of Winter. Winter tried to get away. It's going to be the heal from Shoryu to keep him alive as Winter took a turret shot too many and nearly fell himself.
Yeah, it looks like heal for flash, you take that trade any day of the week as the recon into an immobile AD, because once you get that ulti back up, that's the 3-minute window. We're gonna see some action in the bot lane as well.
I'd imagine we would. Kenby here. They were able to get the root on a Rodov. Rodov uses Equalizer, but died before anything really of venture could happen for the side of ANEW. Even though Mike Young does have the Rift Herald, Didn't want to pop it since you already lost top lane. Might as well back off, hold out. They're not going to be able to push on the side of 100 Thieves next anyways.
Yeah, that's definitely an underrated part of the Herald as well, is just having that quicker recall time as a jungler, able to get back on the map faster than anyone else. And this time around, he's using it to play for that second dragon.
Playing for that one, trying to see if they can get that for themselves. And it is forcing Kenby to have to play around where Mike Young is. And so I do respect that from ANEW, but I just need to see a little bit more action that's proactive on the side of ANEW. They're getting caught out again. Firefire had to flash away. Copy was able to use Exhaust, use a lot to be able to lock him down to get that summoner.
Yeah, and the worst part is, guess what? He just TP'd back, and now he is this low for this dragon fight. We're going to see Tenacity have TP advantage on Ezreal, who also just TP'd back. So 100 Thieves has a really, really good setup if they want to contest this dragon.
It feels like 100 Thieves Next are the ones that are always playing proactively. They're the ones looking for these fights, and it's ANEW who are playing too reactively. They're trying to see if they can match, in the top lane to be able to match the push coming in from Tenacity. So they sent Shoryu there. Well, Firefire had just TP'd into mid lane, so Copy was able to punish him. He TP's back himself. Now he's full back to health. He's going to be able to keep up against Firefire and even contest around that Ocean Dragon to make it so that it's not going to be a clean soul for the side of ANEW like last time.
Yeah, no, not at all. They kind of wanted to TP top for that farm initially, and then when they TP'd mid, they got chunked out for it. So, both those plays just immediately meant they cannot contest that dragon at all. But they are going to use the Herald on the top side before plates fall, trying to trade with the bot lane pressure that 100 Thieves has.
Yeah, Rodev used Equalizer just to make sure they weren't going to lose the trade in turrets. So with Shelly here in the top lane, should be the full charge that gets them the turret plates. They get the flash out of Tenacity from Winter. Barely not enough, just need one more. There it is. They're getting the minions to finish off that last auto attack onto the turret, so they do get themselves the first turret gold and find themselves now with an 1,000 gold lead over 100 Thieves Next.
Yeah, right before plates fall, they're going to get that one plate advantage as Rumble holds bot lane. The next objective for both these teams is going to be either the blue buff on the 100 Thieves Next side or the second Herald. I'm going to guess, based on how these teams are playing, that we're going to see some second Herald action.
I think so too. I was kind of hoping you were going to say the blue buff, because that'd be really funny to see if that's what they really prioritize right here. But I agree. The more logical choice would be to try to see if you could fight around the Rift Herald, see if you can at least secure that objective, and then be able to pressure around some of the turrets to get the gold lead that you need to then fight around the dragons and bears to come.
Yeah, and second Herald is such an interesting objective because more often than not, it's just taken when the plates are already down. So when teams commit their resources to it, they lose a turn on the map to do something else. But it's to save for later, right? So maybe use it to pop it, break the mid-tier one, when Dragon's spawning, so you have the first move on Dragon. Maybe you're using it for a split pusher to go all the way to tier 3. Very creative options that you can have with this second Herald compared to the first one, which is pretty much exclusively used for funneling plate gold into the carry of your choice.
And this is, I think, where it works really well for both teams, because we mentioned before in draft that they're the split push options that each team have. You have Ryze over on the side of 100 Thieves Next, but then you have Corki, you have Rumble, who's going to want to stay in the side lanes as well. Even Ezreal with TP is going to be able to play that, as Rodev does get himself a little bit caught out, gets a lot of damage. The Equalizer is going to be able to come down, but not really going to be able to save him. He's going to die to Copy, going to easily be able to get out of that, taking very little damage on the side of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of it caught out to me, and I believe they picked up the package too. Not a great spot to be in, especially one member down. Your package is on the other side of the map where you're trying to take second Herald. But I do believe ANEW is not going to see a contest for this.
No.
They are just going to take that second Herald and not have the package for the Infernal Dragon coming up in 1 minute 50 seconds.
So not really the best scenario for the side of ANEW, but they don't really lose much for losing rid of, well, the turret, sure, it's something. They still have the gold lead, even if it's minor. They're still there pretty evenly, and they want to be able to see if they can have these really interesting fights that we were mentioning before, where both teams have that ability to be able to team fight, but they also do have resources to wait it out and try to see if they can delay the fights. They can use a Wukong and Rakan going in and try to see if an equalizer or package on top of them is going to be able to do a lot, but they can also just wait it out and try to see if they can knock down some of these turrets, especially now they have Rift Herald.
Yeah, and when the gold lead is this close, the main thing that you have to look at is completed items. Who has their power spikes? Who's still waiting on theirs? And on the side of ANEW, you have those mirror manas ticking up. It's going to be close whether they can get them on time for this next dragon. But you also have the Leandries on the Rumble, which I think will be very important. Stopwatch check, you also have 2 on the side of 100 Thieves next. In team fights like this, where ANEW wants to blow their load immediately, those stopwatches could be a huge hindrance to the type of team fight that they wanted.
At the moment, both teams are a little bit afraid. Even though we do have 4 kills on the side of 100 Thieves next, they're still afraid to really try to go for these full all-in fights against ANEW, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's just not much control for either team. They're kind of keeping it right there, cut in half through the river with their vision, and not really pushing it beyond that.
Yeah, and they can't really, right? I don't know how they can really check the space. You see that they're getting pushed out as 5 people. 100 Thieves doing a really good job pressuring them out and just saying, hey, this is our territory, the bottom river is ours. And Corki is just farming. He is not going to group for this dragon.
He's not even pushing the tier 2.
Yeah, he's not pushing the tier 2 either. Got a question mark ping on the side of 100 Thieves, but
I would question it too. You're not fighting over the Infernal Dragon. You know they're all there. You saw them clear out the vision. Just get the turret.
Yeah, and now 100 Thieves next is first to midwave. They're able to push it out, and Corki must leave because they can all walk to the left and kind of clear that area out and not allow them to push it.
Odd choice on the side of ANEW. They did get a decent amount of damage, so they could just rinse and repeat, see what they can get on the top side. I would like to see them rotate around, try to get that tier 1 in the bot lane, get a little bit more gold into their pockets, especially for Rodov, who's sitting 0-2 right now on this Rumble. Even though it's not really that far behind Tenacity, since Tenacity is just 0-0-1, only that early kill was he a part of. They need to be able to make sure this Rumble is going to be able to do a lot when they have fights happen.
Yeah, and for me, the side of ANEW is sitting on a ton of gold on their mid AD. They do have to recall, and as well, their tier items are about to pop. So I'm looking forward to seeing the kind of damage they can put out in those situations. On the side of 100 Thieves, they're kind of just waiting on the Renans from Ashe before really team fighting. But I think their split push is online right now. I think the Rise can actually, with the Seraphs, with the full Rod of Ages coming up, he's able to get that side lane pressure. So we'll see if they can convert that into any good map.
That's what they need to be able to do. They need to make sure that it's going to be Tenacity split pushing that's able to keep Rodov or keep Fire, one of the two, pinned down wherever he is, so that they're not really able to find those exact fights that they want to, like we mentioned before, the Equalizer or the package, to be able to burn them while Wukong and Rakan keep them locked on top of that burning zone.
Yeah, I really like the movement from 100 Thieves, the Lee Sin trailing the Rise to bring him over and make sure that they can 2v2 if needed, play for this Herald, and they're bringing him up for this Herald fight.
5v5 fight right now. The flash coming in from Copy is going to be able to get the charm that they need to. Kenby was trying to get the kick onto Ezreal, but it's going to be Wukong that keeps them locked down. They get the kill onto Kenby. It's going to be the slam coming in. Rhoda barely going to be able to escape with his life. The flash comes in from Tenacity to be able to pick up the kill, and Copy somehow takes a lantern to be able to get out by Fire, make sure that he cannot actually survive. And Tenacity, the wrong side of the fight, even with the Seraph's Embrace, is going to die. And it's going to be ANEW who start cleaning up the fight, only auto surviving on the side of 100 Thieves next, which means the Baron easily into the pockets of ANEW.
Wow, there's that mana power spike I'm talking about from the Corki and the Ezreal, able to pump out so much damage. But I think the key to that fight, if we look at the replay, was the Wukong ulti stopping the follow-up from the Lee Sin kick. So Lee Sin not able to get off any sort of peel, not able to get back to his team, because the Wukong ulti is able to stop him in his tracks as he kicked away the Ezreal.
And that's something we didn't get to talk about, is the disengage that is there for the side of ANEW as well. While we were so focused on engage coming in from both Winter and Mike Young, they have disengage tools too. So it looked like it was the catch out onto Winter from Otto. They had the pick. Even the flash in from Copy was a massive taunt that they needed. But Wukong and Rakan kept it so that nobody could dive onto Shoryu. Nobody could keep up with Ezreal. So when Kenby dives into the backline, he never got the kick.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really know how 100 Thieves can salvage this situation. Gallion is
happening. He's dead right now. Even Kenby's there. Like, I can save him. No, I can't. And Jan was able to barely take the Lancer to get away. The kick comes in onto Mike Young just so Kenby can try to run away. The Baron up minions in mid will take down the tier 2 while Tenacity is split pushing away from the team. You need to start grouping up because knock, knock. It's the inhibitor turrets that are looking like they're about to crack for the side of 100 Thieves next, and they don't have the members here to try to keep it alive. Yawn only barely going to be able to show up to try to see if they can chip it down, but Yawn taken so low, burning down from the red buff, does not fall to it because the shield was enough, but they lose out on the mid inhibitor.
Yep, and that's Kenby and Tenacity just trying to get what they can on the top side of the map because they know they cannot contest at all on the other side. So, trying to salvage what they can. They at least have a mid inhibitor down that they can farm. But I think the rest of the new Baron is just going to be getting this dragon. Or diving tier 2.
The Copy. The tank, you remember, it's going to be the Rift Realm Warp. There we go. I can say the word. That was canceled, not even used, as Kenby takes a lot of damage coming in from Rhoda. Barely going to be able to dodge out of the fight. There's a lot already used on a Copy, but it's still a force coming in from the side of ANEW. They want to get some out of it. It's going to be the shutdown. Kenby, Winter solo, still barely able to skirt.
Best TP, home guards as well.
See if they can run away. Is he going to be able to get the charm that he needs to make it so that ANEW not going to be able to escape from the fight? Wins the 4, did not connect on to Winter. He's healing up during this time, trying to get away with Mike Young caught away from the team. He does have to use the Cyclone to try to see if they can survive. They have Equalizer doing a little bit of damage, but Jan is going to be able to get the shutdown on Mike Young, and they're even going to be able to disengage. They have the double kill, and they're looking for Shoryu. They flashed in for a triple kill coming in from Jan. They got the lockdown on a Rhoda. It's going to be a quadra kill for Jan, and that is 100 Thieves fighting back, and they will put themselves with an Infernal Soul points.
Brutal stuff from ANEW. The easiest thing to do is just back out, get the dragon after the inhibitor, and then reset, and you're back on the map with such a good map state. But instead, they go for too much. They go for the dive on the tier 2. It allows 100 Thieves to collapse, get the TP so they can keep chasing, and when they turn, it's just way too much, way too quickly on the side of ANEW. The worst part of that, now we got a soul point on our hands. Like I mentioned before, we may have seen that first dragon on the side of ANEW, but now we're looking at that 28, 29-minute soul point, and this Ashe is looking like she can be the one who can 1v9 the game.
Johan definitely looking like getting the quadra kill, having not got a single kill before that fight. Definitely skyrocketing in gold, has completed the Runon's Hurricane, which is considered such a massive and critical item for Ashe here in the late game. I'm looking towards the next fight. Even despite all that just happened, it is still a deficit that 100 Thieves next have themselves. They were able to dig themselves out a little bit. It's looking good out of them. I love this fight coming in from these rookie players saying that we can still fight back in this mid to late game, but we need to see them do it again. It's a burden of execution because they were so far down that it's not just once that they're going to be able to get back into the game. It's going to be twice, maybe even 3 times before they can call themselves equal to ANEW.
Yeah, I'm really looking at when that mid inhib comes back up, the dragon will also be up. It's really just about whether they can take this next Baron on the side of ANEW and try and close out the game, make the gold lead so unmanageable that Infernal Soul doesn't even matter.
And that's what they're trying to do. Otto did want to be able to get the hook on to Winter. Unfortunately, was not able to find it.
And there's Tenacity pushing in bot as well. He does have a very, very far flank TP with the Vision Ward on top side, but ANEW is just going to back out.
And that's going to work for them. They're going to be able to get a little bit of damage onto that tier 2. It will force the recalls out of the side of ANEW, not wanting to forfeit that much over to 100 Thieves next, knowing that they were able to get so much, only having one outer turret now remaining that they can knock down for 100 Thieves next to make it that much easier for them to push in one of these side lanes and then fight around the Baron. So they want to make sure they're not too worried about tenacity just ending the game.
Yeah, and if you do leave this Rise unchecked, there aren't a lot of options to contest him. It really is the Corki that you have to pull back, but he does not even have TP. So if he does contest, you are going to have the opportunity for a 5v4 play on the other side of the map. The Death Stance is completed on the Ashe. She is outpacing this Ezreal, even though the Ezreal has longer range. And at this point, I do think the Galio is more useful as CC bot, potential one-shotter, and peeler for the Ashe than a person who's going to try and dive and make anything happen that way.
Completely agree. I think that that's going to be what it's on. It's the Galio difference right now that we're seeing from the two teams. That one fight where they jumped and used so much to try to kill Copy. Well, if you don't kill Galio when you get the catch on him, he's able to back out, TP into the fight, or even if he didn't TP, he has heroic entrance to be able to rejoin. It's that difficult to be able to keep Galio from a fight. He will always be there.
My goodness.
The package from Firefire forces out the QSS. That was
that was the kind of package that, you know, that's the kind of package that makes you say, makes it look like you want to play game 3, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean as Winter looked for the engage. Copy on the other side. The Equalizer's going to be able to cut the fight, and they're going to be able to get the kill onto the statue. That's what they needed to be able to do. He's not going to be able to join the fight. The double kill coming in from Shoryu. Everyone else from 100 Thieves Academy trying to run away. They're going to be able to get the realm warp away. Barely going to be able to survive from that fight, but man, whew, that was ANEW looking pretty good.
Yeah, and Shoryu does have that Bork, so the Baron can go down fairly quickly. And Corki is just coming back into the fight.
Goes right for the package, gets locked down, but they get the shutdown they need. Kenby gonna go golden to be able to survive. They're trying to see if they can get the flash, the double kill from Firefire. The flash and TPs are here. They're all gonna knock down. It will be a delayed ace for ANEW, but they do want to see if they can turn. They don't have Mike Young up, so they cannot get the Baron off of that play, but they will be able to get the vision control around it.
Yeah, and I don't even think they want that, you know? They're just going to base. Their characters will be back on map in time to go for that soul. I think we're just going to have another big fight there. The Ashe does not have flash for this fight. I think that's huge and something to consider.
I wonder, though, do 100 Thieves next want to fight around this? Do they want to fight that hard around the soul? Well, yes, they would love to have it. They still have it some time until Yon's going to be a part of it. They have TP.
They're not able to.
They don't have TP for Yon.
Yeah, not able to do it. The soul is delayed another 5 minutes, and you just gave more damage to this Corki Ezreal, who pretty much can shred the front line of 100 Thieves like cheese, like paper, whatever weak, flimsy thing you want to compare their front line to. It's just really easy for the Corki Ezreal to get through.
So I don't want to see Firefire have another package like before. That was definitely a yikes in my book. He thought he had QSS, that he was going to be able to jump out of there, but it really did make it, so the fight almost didn't pan out the way it was. They have the pick on tenacity. Unfortunately, didn't have it there, and he gets himself cut out immediately. Nowhere to go because he was locked down for so long, and without that split push, without the Rise, who's got the late game, they have to fight 4v5 around the Baron.
Yeah, and it's looking very difficult. Lee Sin can jump over the pit to try and steal.
Gonna be able to, though. Look at this. They're holding off. This is that veteran status we've seen from ANEW. They're peeling, waiting for the fight. Know they have the advantage. Want to be able to lock down Kenby, so he's not going to be able to jump over the wall. There he goes. He was able to get the kill onto his opponent jungler, but it doesn't matter because everyone else is forced away. There's not going to be the steal from 100 Thieves next. They might concede the Baron for
I've seen crazier things, man.
I would like to see it, but they don't go for it. It will be the Baron secured by ANEW, second one of the game. We're dragging later and later into the game. It's looking messy from both teams, but this is ANEW with a sizable lead now.
Yeah, I suppose they answered the question pretty clearly when we wondered, what does this comp necessarily do? And the answer is just let Corky and Ezreal sit in backline and carry this game for us.
Yeah, pretty much right now. I mean, combined, they're 11, 3, and 6. Looking pretty good out of your 2 carries. Allow Wukong, Rakan to pretty much eat up all the damage, absorb a lot of the pressure. All they need Rodolph to do is throw down an equalizer, and he's got the job done.
Yeah, one thing that's been really surprising, well, for people who aren't as familiar with Wukong teamfighting or jungle Wukong, is just how much pressure the Wukong was able to pull with his ulti and his clone. Making sure that the peel on the side of 100 Thieves went towards the Wukong instead of the Corki and Ezreal.
Exactly, and if you're able to play that very well, like we've been seeing from Mike Young, it can absorb so much pressure using the clone, using the cyclone, like you're talking about, Invert, to be able to pull that pressure away. And for 100 Thieves next, they just weren't prepared for this strategy that was pulled out by ANEW. I mean, we weren't really that prepared either, so I can't say I blame them, but it's working so well for them at the moment. And for 100 Thieves next, they got to figure out what they want to do. This is their last stand. This is the winner's finals. The winner of this game, if it's ANEW, will go on to the grand finals.
Yeah, and it's looking like they're going to get double inhibitor. They can play for the top side, just kind of walk the waves in. They have the range advantage. The Ashe kind of needs to Hail Mary arrow, but then there's the Mikhails. There's a lot of difficulties to play out the fights when the gold lead is like this.
And you can see right now the backs that are going to be attempted on the side of ANEW. They want to be able to get those death dances completed for both Ezreal and Wukong, so that way it's even more difficult to actually kill them in these fights.
Of course. And if you're 100 Thieves, obviously you want to win this game, go to game 3, but if you don't, I think one really big thing to look at is what's next, because you tried two different styles against ANEW, and both did not work out. More team fight oriented, did not work out. The game was in their hands in the split push composition, the 1-3-1, but they just weren't patient enough. So what their future practice looks like in terms of what kind of style they want to index towards, I think will be pretty telling as the rest of the Scouting Ground circuit goes on.
This is also so interesting as we see, the package coming in. Looks like the pick on a copy will be able to grab the lantern out of there. So even though it almost was an attempted fight on the side of ANEW, credit where credit is due to this squad. The veteran squad that have played in Scouting Ground circuit before. They didn't have the best time before when it was just the group stage, but this is where they've been having this power. They've been coming into the playoffs and been so perfect. They have not dropped a single game in the playoffs, and they look like they're about to do that here again against 100 Thieves Next, who have been perfect so far. They get the pick and a great quickness in the backline. Even though Yon was able to get the kill onto Winters, it makes it so they can continue the pressure onto that inhibitor turret. They get a lot of damage, nearly almost making it fall. They're just going to continue to hard press.
Yeah, they have to answer bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, they have to answer bottom. They can't really answer this inhib situation. And if you see the interaction with Lee Sin Q and the clone, that's one of the things that makes Wukong actually playable into the champ. There's a Rise TP as well.
Warp trying to see who they can get. The flash immediately away from Tenacity. Mike Young, he's feigning that he wants to be able to go back in. Kenby's going to be able to use the shield to be able to stay alive against the true shot.
Bottom lane turret is railed.
Minions right now are just taking it for ANEW 100 Thieves next. They want to be able to get that Infernal Soul point. They want to get the Infernal Soul, but are they even going to be able to? They have to keep
They do have Rise TP, so when he does clear out that super minion, there is that timer. They are going to get it. ANEW is not here on time.
It will be the Infernal Soul. 100 Thieves next have it, but now they have to survive. They have to be able to get away. Otto took a lot of damage. They're going to be able to get the charm on to Fire, but look at the damage from ANEW. They've locked everyone down. They have Blast Clone over the wall. They're barely going to be able to keep Otto alive. It only delayed the inevitable. Yawn over the wall. Needed one more hit. The flash comes in. Rodolph makes sure that he's not going to be able to survive. The two solo laners on the side of 100 Thieves Next will be able to survive for now against.
It is 3 for 3. They do have to clear out those supers.
They gotta go back.
They have the Infernal Soul to do it as well.
It will help them out, but they might lose that turret. Oh, Super not going to be able to get it. Barely going to be able to stay alive, which means we'll more than likely have another fight around the Baron. That's crazy just to see
Wow.
these two teams back and forth.
And
back
Rise
and
can
forth.
clear these supers so quickly with the Infernal Soul. They actually have a way to hold off against the threat here. I don't know if they can contest the Baron necessarily.
It's gonna be fun.
But they are able to hold their base, which I think is a big step up. And their Elder threat can still happen if they get a good fight.
You think the game's gonna last long enough for the Elder? Invert?
I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. But I'm seeing this rise to 1,200. I'm seeing this rise to 1,200 damage to supers with the Void Staff. He's about to get Leandries. They're farming the double supers. I just think this game is wild. It's difficult to call for sure, but I do think with the Infernal Soul they can team fight.
But it is going to be the third Baron for ANEW. They got themselves a third one. Every inhibitor is down. We just heard it right there. Inhibitor is going to be respawning as Yon takes a lot of damage from Five Fire. That looked like a better use of the engage coming in from Five Fire to try to chip away at Yon, who doesn't have TP, has to walk all the way back to the base if you want to at least be able to fight around this inhibitor that has respawned, but it's going to melt away too quickly.
Yeah, and now they're going to see if they can get the bottom inhibitor. I do wonder if 100 Thieves thinks the Nexus turrets is where they hold, or it's the bottom inhibitor. Oh, there's the kick attempt.
Tried to go for the kick, but he died immediately. They got the slam down coming in from Coffee, but he is going to go golden, only delaying his death too. It's going to be Shoryu finds the kill. They have the Realm Warp trying to escape for Tenacity, but he's not coming in the air. He get the kill. That's the fight you needed finally coming in from ANEW. They will crack the Nexus turrets. They will make sure the bottom lane of 100 Thieves can do nothing in the fight as Auto falls. Yon going to be the next one to go to. It's going to be the double kill. It's going to be the end of the game, and ANEW get themselves right into the grand finals, undefeated so far.
Wow, and just props to ANEW. I think they knew what they were good at. They played to those conditions, and I think they just caught 100 Thieves next sleeping.
That was definitely well done. I'll give them a round of applause for that one because I did not know how that composition was going to be able to work. It seemed funky. They didn't really have a good front line on their side with Wukong and Rakan not really being the tankiest members. Rumble as well, kind of having a very poor early game, and it's not really his fault trying to go up against Rise. Once Rise does get level 4, it's always going to be able to bully around Rumble, but they found a way to make it work. Some messy fights out of the side of 100 Thieves next worked out well for ANEW.
Yeah, and if we just look at the damage chart, I think it says it all. I see an Ezreal, I see a Corki. They're both pumping out almost 40,000 damage, and this Wukong is just chilling under 8,000 damage for the entire game to champions. Just hanging out, just trying to spin around, make sure that those two carries stayed safe, and they ended up doing so. So
that was remarkable, definitely was, and they worked it well. And ANEW find their ticket to the grand finals. Still have yet to drop a single game in the playoffs for Upsurge, and
great
I think
stuff.
I think that's what's the most remarkable because they had not the best time in the group stage back before. They were hit or miss. They were doing all right, but just not standing out, where a lot of people are like, this is like ANEW last year where they were the cream of the crop. They were the top team. Nobody could touch them. They kind of looked a little bit weaker, but during this playoffs, they're looking untouchable.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say untouchable. They're winning the games.
They still got the win.
They're winning the games. Maybe I'm a little, snooty about it, and things could be done a little better. But they came in with clear game plan. They wanted to play for team fight. They drafted both times around it, and 100 Thieves just couldn't adapt properly in this series. We'll see if they can make their way back up to the grand finals, get that grudge match, and adapt properly for that.
All right, so before we close out the stream, I got to ask you, Invert, MVP, who do you got to give it to?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I think Shoryu played the best out of both games, even if Five Fire's scoreline may have looked a little better. I think Five Fire just made too many aggressive plays in this game that could have backfired, and even then they weren't that good, even though the Oriana play was so good on his side. He did int a bit on the side lane on Ori as well, whereas I think Shoryu, he knew his condition, he played it out correctly in both of the games.
I agree. That's actually who I was going to choose to assure you. I think it's the consistency as well as just looking at the top. You look great. Fire did amazing both games as well, but like you said, just a couple of interesting plays.
Some oopsies, if you will.
Some oopsies or yikes, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
But it was still well done by ANEW all around. They were able to pick up 2-0 victory, get themselves into the grand finals. We're going to wrap it up here. I've been Mad Magical, joined in by Enver. It was great casting with you, my dude. I really enjoyed that. But we are going to be rating Radiance because they still have the game going on in the losers bracket right now, where it's Radiance taking on Maryville, finding out who's going to take on 100 Thieves next in the losers finals. So let's go check it out.